Welcome to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk, a show about ancient coins from the viewpoint of a seasoned professional with nearly 30 years' experience. Here's Aaron Berk and Mike Nodelman on the Ancient Coin Podcast.
And the sound of whatever that is means it is time once again for the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. I am Mike Nodelman.
I'm Aaron Berk.
And on tonight's show, we are going to take you through the world of auctions and talk about some really cool things that have happened, some really cool things that we think are going to happen, or at least we're expecting to happen, as well as give you a pearl of wisdom for our necklace of knowledge. So, with all that said, Aaron, you want to get right to it?
Yeah, so let's do a little review as we've been doing lately. On the last episode, we covered the Baldwins sale, auction 120, which happened on March 12th. And so the first one was this really pretty Larissa stater, and went for 4,000 pounds, which was their low estimate. I think that's about what it's worth, honestly. So I think, sometimes when estimates are a little stronger than they should be, I think the market pretty much dictates the results. That's my general feeling there. So, but a very pretty coin, but you got to remember this is the pound of the dollar. Then you got your, whether it's 18 to 23%, and then the exchange rate. So it gets, you're talking $6,000, which is what this coin is worth.
So the fact that it went for the opening bid wasn't as big a deal.
No, I think that was a good happy sale ultimately in the end. So and then the next coin we profiled was the really pretty Nerva denarius that I consider to have the schnoz of a tribesman, but was still Italian in his own right. And it brought 300, which was the high end of their range. I think that was fair for the coin. Definitely weak on the reverse, but you can see all that nice luster on the Overpayment coin. I think somebody got a good buy there. So wasn't a crazy price, and it was right in line with where it should have been. So, and then finally, I forgot to mention in the last episode on this lot 98. It's the next lot. Yep. This is that really cool Celtic coin. And right at the beginning, it says, auctioneer's notes, we advise prospective bidders that due to the historical and cultural importance of this piece, we believe it would be highly unlikely to receive an export license. So basically, this one has got to stay in England. So starting price was 70,000. Prices realized was 70,000. So went for the opening. I was talking to a collector about it and said, well, why would anybody buy it if they didn't live in the UK? And I said, well, if you had all the money in the world, you'd buy this and you'd maybe put it on display at a university or a museum in England. And you could state that you own it. It would stay there on display. Obviously, it's a unique coin, so somebody would want to have it on display someplace.
You can go visit once in a while.
Yeah, and you could sell it later. So, the gold Eid Mar with the hole was on display at the British Museum for 10 years. And a lot of people from around the world went and saw it. And so if you have a coin or an object or a painting that can be on display somewhere, it's a great way to build up its pedigree as well as its interest down the road. And so, I, personally, I think that I wouldn't, if I had this kind of money, I don't, but if I did, I would invest it and put it on display there. I think that would be pretty cool. So, but I forgot to mention in the last show that wasn't the case, and a collector brought it to my attention. It was in the listing. But in any case, it is what it is.
We stand corrected now.
That's right. But obviously it brought what it was going to bring. If it probably had more of if somebody could take it home kind of attitude, maybe it would have gone for more. Hard to say, but it is what it is in the whole scope of things. So that was the Baldwin sale. One we didn't review last time, which I feel like I'm just going to review two coins in the sale. is the Künker sale, and that happened on March 17th. Some high-end coins here. There was a lot of. I thought that the auction overall was excellent. There was a lot of great coins. There was a lot of mid-level range coins. I think there was a lot of deals to be had. And then there were some coins that had some great prices. So the one we've got up here now is the famous Brutus Eid Mar. And the Brutus Eid Mars are still where they should be. Now, some people would say 280,000 hammer. That's a crazy price. Well, not really. If you start to look at the whole market right now, you have the one that sold in NAC last year, which is probably the finest known. That brought 1.2 million. Then you have the C&G one that only had a pedigree back to the 1990s, as this one does. And that one brought all in 570,000. So you would think just if you go down in quality a little bit more, now this one isn't one that came from the original hoard in the 90s that are all corroded. Those tend to, bring a certain price range in general. So this has got nice, even though it's got some wear, it's got some scratches, it has really honest surfaces for the coin, and much better than the video is much better than the photos. As you can see, that's why I had Mike bring up the video and not the photos. But I think it's right in line where it should be priced. And so it's the number one coin in the whole ancient series, and there's a reason for it. And a lot of people, not everybody can own one, and the ones that can are able to acquire them at the levels that I think make sense. And so congratulations to the new owner. And I'd say overall the market is still, that's the beauty of like bidding in auctions or watching auctions. Even if you can't spend this, most of us can't spend this kind of money, right? But it doesn't matter. You watch the auctions, you can see what's happening in the market. Even if you're watching $100 and $200 coins in these Künker sales, and yeah, there's not a ton of them, but they were there. You can see where the market's going. And so you get a good feel for the market just watching these auctions. And it does transcend throughout the rest of the market. And we'll see, we still have NAC is still coming out. We're going to review Nomos here in a second. And C&G will have their spring sale as well as a few others. And so I think the market is still healthy, even in a worldwide market that's uncertain. I think that coins are still doing quite well, as far as what I can tell anyway. The next lot I wanted to show off was lot 554. And
I've heard it's two-headed coins. This one's a three-headed coin.
This is a three-headed coin. That's right. And you can do the video on that. There's a little black box there if you want to click that. And always much, how I feel about videos. Always much nicer. Yeah, always much nicer. So here we've got Constantine the Great, and on the reverse we have his two sons. And so what's really interesting is only one was actually Caesar at the time with his father, but he chose to put both sons on this coin, and they don't really know why. But he was showing his children honorable mention, I suppose, on a 1.5 gold medallion. And it wasn't a runaway price. It was a good price, but it wasn't runaway, and a spectacular coin. These medallions are pretty unique. They're all unique, essentially. And this one is pretty great. So, and looks like their videos died.
Yeah.
So anyway, check out the sale, look throughout, see where things went. Always really important to look at a prices realized, even for expensive coins, to see where what's happening with the market. So that'll bring us to the I don't know. Should we do the doofus now or after Nomos? I don't remember. I think I put them out.
Totally up to you.
Yeah, let's do the doofus since it's past. So so I thought that this was somebody brought this to my attention, and it's not. We've profiled a ton of these Augustus Comet coins on the show. This one has a test cut down there between the A and the V. Yep. At what is that? 5 o'clock. And, you know, it's a pretty coin. It's not a $7,000 hammer coin. 7,000 plus 20%. I mean, you're getting, you know, you're getting closer to $10,000 for this coin. I've sold left facing, which are a little scarcer, better or the same quality for, you know, $3,000 and $4,000. So I think somebody way overpaid for this coin, especially with the test cut. I don't even think it had a great pedigree. There wasn't a pre-1970 pedigree, as far as I remember. Does it say a pedigree on there, Mike?
Does not have.
Oh, it's sold in Roma.
Well, but that's 22.
Sold in Roma in 2022. Yeah, and I think in Roma it brought, I want to say 3,000 or 4,000. It didn't bring, you know, crazy money. You know, the estimate was stupid. $500 estimate is ridiculous. You know, they started it really low to kind of obviously draw interest. You know, I think this coin is a $3,500 coin. I think somebody way overpaid for it. But, you know, it takes two to tango, and somebody got into a clicking war at the end, and that's what happens. I mean, this isn't even, this is an e-sale. It's not even a regular print sale. So, you know, but I've always said, you know, coins like this are, even though this is nice quality, it's a relatively common coin. And so you can wait for a better one to come. Somebody should have had their limit in mind and just stopped, and let the other guy have it, because this coin will keep coming up over and over. This type will keep coming up over and over and over again. You're going to have a really hard time, whoever bought it, getting their money out. And so, you know, just as a lesson in general, you should always, especially on coins that come up on a regular basis, you should be patient, because as I've told my clients that I work with, don't worry if you lost it. There's another coin around the bend.
Well, I think it's really important to remember that, you know, this coin didn't just have one person overbidding for it.
Yeah.
There wasn't just one. So
No. It always takes two to tango, for sure.
At least.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure. And it could be that, you know, somebody put in, my guess is, if I had to make a educated guess, is somebody put in a really high proxy bid, and somebody just nailed it at the top. So of it. So, you know, that's unfortunate for them. That's why you have to be really careful when you're leaving proxy bids, not to pad it too heavily, because, you know, you don't want to get it run up. So, by another individual. You know, I've had situations where I'm bidding in a sale and I'm just throwing bids for wholesale, and I don't want to see something go for wholesale, and I just bid it to a point where, like, it, you know, like I'll just keep hitting the next increment until I feel like, okay, now it's retail, you know. And if I capture the bid and it's still in the place where it is for me wholesale, or where I feel like I can still make money, then I leave my bid and just see what happens. And if I get beat, I get beat. I don't care. But ultimately, I'm running that bid up to retail level. So you don't want to have somebody else do that to you, if you're leaving a proxy bid. So if you're going to leave a bid and walk away, make sure that it's not padded so heavily that you're going to really regret getting the coin for what you got it for.
Well, I think that the people that pad their bids the heaviest are the ones that they absolutely want to make sure they get that. Well, then proxy bid is probably not the best way to go.
I mean, I get it. Like, if you can't be there and you don't want to give it to a dealer to handle or a friend, you know, I understand leaving bids. I'll do it if a client asks me to bid on something and it's just around estimate, I'll probably leave a bid, because there's no point in hanging out for hours and hours and hours for a coin that probably, you know, we're hoping to get lucky to buy. If I have a very competitive strong bid, of course I'm going to wait and be there, because I'm trying to save the client as much money as possible. But if it's marginal and I know I'm going to probably not win it, then there's no point in me hanging out. I might as well just put the bid in and just leave it alone, you know, because I know I'm not hurting my client or myself by leaving the bid. And if I get it, I'm like, oh, got it, great. And I didn't lose any sleep. So,
right.
I mean, I just had a real expensive coin I was bidding on for one of my best clients, and I ended up leaving the bid, and it was on a really expensive coin. The estimate was 100,000. He gave me basically one bid over 100,000, which was, and somebody bid the 100, so then I bid 110,000. I mean, this is a crazy number, guys. I know it's, I know I'm speaking to guys, but I'm just giving you an example of me leaving even a really expensive bid. So I left a bid of 110,000 on the books because the auction was starting in the middle of the night, and there's no point in me hanging around if that's my last bid anyway. It just doesn't make sense. And so I woke up in the morning, checked the bid, and it sold for 300,000. And
you got a good night's sleep.
And I got a good night's sleep, and I initiated my client's bid, and it was like, oh well. We tried to get a deal. It didn't work out, so you just have to use your common sense. And I don't care if it's on 100,000 or $50. It doesn't matter. It's the same philosophy. If you don't want to hang out and you think you're just going for a chance on a bid, just leave it, but don't pad it. That's all I've got to say about that. And
that's all I've got to say.
That's all I got to say about that. So anyway, so I guess the moral of this story is be patient. There's going to be another one of, especially even of some rarities. There seems to be a pleasant flow of coins that keep coming up. So
until you get to unique stuff or stuff like the Eid Mar Aureus, where there's two of them, it's like there's going to be another one that comes around.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, on the Eid Mar that CNG sold, client that I was working with, we had a certain number in mind, and it surpassed that, and we let it go because we said, well, there's going to be more. And then,
and there will be.
And sure enough, there is, and there will be. So it's just the nature of commerce. And the fact is that, especially on high end coins, when the market is healthy, you get a good run of material continually coming out because people want to take advantage of the prices. And
I think the interesting part of that is also that in the short time that I've been in the business, and I've really started noticing ancient coins, really even has been a shorter time. Mm-hmm. I've seen several silver Eid Mars come up, so they come around. It's just a matter of waiting for the next one.
No, it's not the silver ones are not unique by any means, and and I even saw, somebody showed me today, there's a 4A coming up in Heritage. So I mean, there's even 4As. Now that one might be questionable, but but it doesn't matter. It's another opportunity to buy an Eid Mar. So and they keep on coming. So in all different kinds of quality. So, and then based on the quality, you just have to then go and do your research and decide what makes sense and what doesn't make sense based on the market. And so we all have the same looking glass. It's just a matter of my experienced eyes are going to look at them a little bit differently than some of you guys will, but over time you develop your eye and develop a feel for it, and you'll understand that they're widgets, and you figure out, does this widget, what does it have that the next widget or the one before it didn't have? What attributes does it have that are going to help draw more interest to it, whether it be a pedigree or centering or whatever the case might be, where it's being sold, the currency it's in, the exchange, or the buyer's fees. I mean, there's all kinds of little nuances that you have to figure out. And again, it doesn't matter if it's a $50 coin or it's a $1 million coin. It's all the same philosophies ultimately. So anyway, moving on, let's talk about auction coming up, the Nomos sale. This is auction 35. It's going to be April 5th and 6th, so just around the corner. And very nice sale, a lot of great stuff. I've had some people tell me they think the estimates are too high. I think you just have to decide, no matter where you're bidding, just like we looked earlier in Baldwin's, if an estimate is if you feel like it's too high, just bid less. That's all. It's a different rationale, and there are going to be some estimates in the sale that you might think are too high, and there's going to be some that you think are too low. And so every consignment is different for these auction houses, and depending on what they have to how they worked out a deal with the seller, and so you have to take all that into account when you're leaving your bid. So I have some dealers or some auction houses will tell you, well, all of our estimates are wholesale, and that might be true in some cases, and in other cases it's retail. And so you just have to decide. And I had a bid for a coin in the Künker sale, and the estimate was 5,000, and I thought that was retail. And so I said, well, we're going to watch it, and if I can get it for under 5,000, I'll bid on it, and if I don't, then I'll let it go. And so you just adjust your rationale in your bidding. And so you may still get lucky. And that's the other thing too, is if a lot of people think estimates are too high, they don't bid. And that is an advantage for the people who are hanging around waiting for deals to come through. The reason why auction houses put in really low estimates is because they want to draw you in. They want to make sure you show up and then get into the heat of battle and hopefully spend over retail. So, and then it's to their advantage, because then they'll advertise, hey, our sale did 3 times pre-estimate, so, which is such a racket, because if all your estimates are ridiculous, and like the one coin that we showed earlier was like, started at, well, even the Eid Mar, they put 50,000 on it and it brought 280. So, and then they can say, well, we sold it at, 3 times, 4 times what we thought it was going to bring.
But you may have thought the coin wasn't worth what it is.
Well, no, it's the point is that they can advertise that they did gangbusters over estimate, and that draws in more consignments. And so, but it also draws interest. It draws people to show up to the sale. So there's all different things, but you just have to rationalize the estimates and look at the market price of each coin, and then decide what you want to bid. So let's look at a few of these.
As a buyer, I mean, you definitely have to change your strategy or your mindset in order to suit, what's going to be given to you. The thing. Yeah. All I'm saying was that if an auction house, kind of gets a reputation for overestimating something, it will eventually come back on them. It just kind of does.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think you just have to know what every auction house does different things too. So you kind of have to learn their nuances and understand them. I think some auction houses tend to be very expensive with their estimates, and some are very low, and sometimes are on the ridiculous side. So I know, like,
while you were talking, I was going through and showing some of the examples of what is for sale in the Nomos sale, and I will tell you that there are some really, really cool.
Yeah, Nomos has great coins. There's no doubt about it. And so, and I think you just have to do your research, right? When somebody gives me their bids for a sale and they say, I want you to represent me, I go through and if you've worked with me before, you know what I'm talking about. I give spreadsheets with comments and possibly links to other coins. I give you where prices are on the market, what's happened recently. If it's the same coin that came up 2 years ago, I'll tell you what the coin brought. Like, I go through it, and then we decide on what is the best strategy based on past history of the coin and or the current market. And so if you all do that yourself, now I'm an expert, and so it's easier for me to rationalize and to put it into perspective, and I might do it faster than an individual. And I can read coins a little bit, the quality of coins and the artistic merit of coins and things like that. And so, and I have no problem telling a client, that I'm representing, don't bid on it. It's a piece of crap. And so, I always cancel bids for people that are interested in certain things. If somebody was asking me on that Augustus coin at C&G, I would have said, don't bid any more than 3,500, and here are the reasons why, and just let it go. Or I would have said, if you have to have it, even with that flaw, which wasn't a terrible flaw, but it was still a flaw with the cut, then maybe this is where you want to be, or just skip it because, or put in a low bid, they started at 500. So start at, put in 2,000 or 2,200. So, and then just let it go and don't worry about it. So
this is not our pearl of wisdom for tonight, but I want to say, I think overall life is too short to overpay for coins.
Absolutely. So, so let's talk about, I'll pinpoint a couple coins in Nomos. I know you've been showing it. The Lot 82. I thought this was a beautiful coin. This Tarentum diagram. I love when you can see the actual motion and you can actually feel the horse rider, the way he's leaning back on the bridle, and even on the tarsus side, you can see him kind of leaning back, putting his arm back on the tail of the dolphin. This is just really beautiful artwork. Really doesn't get much better than that. Beautiful toning. I love this coin. Beautiful coin. Next lot 160, Syracuse tetradrachm. It's in line with what I think an estimate should be. It's a beautiful coin mostly on the head side. Just love the way the hair is, the bun, the dolphins. Really pretty style. And somebody should be able to, if they can get that for a reasonable price, that would be a beautiful coin to own. Should be able to hopefully pick that up for less than $7,500 if you're lucky. So, and then lot 292, more common coin, the Larissa dram. We're going to talk about Larissa in our educational section, but I want to show you these coins come up constantly. What's really cool about this one is it has a little trident between the hooves on the reverse. And that's something you don't typically see. So it's cool when you see little nuances or little changes in the die.
The detail in this one is really nice too.
Mm-hmm.
It's really strong.
And we'll get into more about Larissa, but this is again, these coins, they're not expensive coins. You'll find them in almost every dealer stock. You'll find them in almost every auction. It is a very, very common coin. So unless it is spectacular or has some amazing pedigree, there's no reason to ever chase any of these coins in an auction. And so, because they come up constantly. So, but, I wanted to show the fact that we're going to talk about in the educational section to show just even in this auction, there's a kind of a different one that you typically would see. And then next lot is lot 707. I love this coin, the Commodus ass, because you see Commodus is wearing the lion skin from Hercules. And Commodus does that. A few emperors do this where they want to show themselves as Hercules, just like Alexander did. And so here we show Commodus as Hercules with his club on the reverse in a middle bronze. Beautiful coin. Really pretty. And then finally, lot 798. I love pointing these out, these dies. These are contemporary forger dies of the period of a Byzantine coin with the obverse and reverse. And they even were able to pinpoint a coin that came out recently in a C&G sale of one of these contemporary imitations at the time. So, which is kind of cool. But very hard to get original dies, but to get forger dies, it's they do come up. So we've profiled a few on this show before. So, but I love seeing them every chance I get. So I thought I would share what I saw as well with you guys.
Yeah, no, that was really interesting. And seeing the dies gives you a little bit of insight into how they're made, because you can talk about it a lot, but it really does kind of put that idea in your head.
For sure. So anyway, check out the Nomos sale. If you can't afford anything, just check it out to just learn. Every sale I look at, I always see a coin I've never seen before. And so that's saying a lot after my 33 years of doing this. And so, it's, one of the reasons why when my dad's asked why he never retires, because he says every day is a new treat.
Okay, that's fair.
So he still sees stuff he's never seen before. And so,
right.
And that's after 62 or 63 years. So
it feeds right into our pearl of wisdom for this evening.
It does. But we'll get to that after we get to our educational section, which is going to be the Drachms of Larissa.
And this time, I'm not going to do what I did last.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, I think you can do it like, I'm wondering if you did it like that.
I could just do it like this and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes humor.
Or I could just put it back the way it was. So anyway, I thought it'd be interesting since Larissa is so common and so many of you do collect Larissa because they tend to be inexpensive. You can find them for as little as, I've seen them as little as $150 all the way up to, $10,000, depending on how nice they are. Let me just look at mine here. So I put up some of my favorite ones on the homepage here. It is so Larissa, which was in Thessaly at the time. They were big breeders of horses, and the river nymph Larissa, who the city is named after, is she was a water nymph, a fountain nymph, I think is actually what she was, but she actually drowned in a river playing with a ball. So for you kids playing with balls near rivers, be careful. You might just drown and become a water nymph. But the design itself is, we believe, was copied from the Syracuse Chemone tetradrachms, where you have these 3/4 facing portraits. And then obviously the horse on the reverse. And some of these drachms, and there's earlier drachms and later drachms with different types, but we're just focusing on the head and the horse type. Kathy Lorber did a whole study of these, and here's the book here, done in, it was actually for a consortium of, in Stockholm, done in 1992, with all kinds of famous numismatists who did different articles on coins at the time. And Kathy did one on the coins of Larissa, where she was putting them into categories based on their head type, and then the head type referring to the reverse types as well, but mostly by going by head type. And so what's cool is you can see the different head types, and also some of these coins were actually signed by the artist. Simo is one of them, and then there was the AI, and I believe or just I can't remember. There's like a couple of abbreviated artists. So these were actually some of the only drachms, very few drachms that were actually signed by the artists. Mostly it's tetradrachms and decadrachms, but not so many drachms. These are obviously smaller coins. And to get one that's pretty affordable as well. My father was collecting these back in the 90s, and he ended up having like an entire double row box, which is probably about 250 of these, something like that. And he eventually quit because he realized he was never going to be able to finish it. There's just too many dies. And they were really making these all the way from anywhere from 400 down to even 300 BC. But we're going to focus on 400 to 370. And you can even see just on this front page, look at the one on the first one on the left, on top. You can see there's wheat tying her hair there, and then the one below it has dolphins swimming, just like you find on the Syracusan pieces on her at her shoulders there. And then she actually has horns, and the horns, she has hair, and then she has horns of a bull later, and the bull just represents strength and stability. So kind of mixing the god with a bull, which is kind of cool. And then the far right one, you can kind of see part of her shoulder is coming up, and it could be that that's the motion of her playing with the ball, with her shoulder way up top, kind of moving up. But beautiful, beautiful portrait. And then you've got the horse below grazing. With the name of the city. If you go to the next slide, Mike. So, this region actually had been taken over quite a bit, and Philip II, father of Alexander the Great, actually took over Thessaly and kept on minting coins, the same coins under his reign. And so this was the world right at Philip's death, before Alexander took over, and you can kind of see, what was happening in the world at the time, map related anyway. If you go to the next slide, this is Kathy. I actually scanned all her plates and then I kind of grouped them. And so here there are 7 different groups, and within the groups there are many different head types that go with different reverse types. And if you look at the coin on the left, you'll see above her head it says Sigma. And so that's the name of the artist. And if you look on the reverse of a different coin there on the right, it has the same Sigma. So that's the artist signatures for when you do find them on coins occasionally. So group 1 had head types going from 1 to 13, and then all these subcategories as well under those. Then you go to the next slide. Group 2 had only 2 head types, 14 and 15. Okay. And then if you go to the next slide, group 3, again, only 2 different head types, 16 and 17, but then all these subcategories as well. So within that, you've got a lot of different, numbers. And so it's she was actually basing her study on 1,000 coins that she had access to at the time. So 1,000 coins.
A lot of different reverses.
A lot of different reverse, a lot of different obverse types as well. And so that's why she's doing it from the head type, because it was probably easier to kind of scale it down than to try to do it from the with the horse type. But there are some, if you read the book, it'll tell you like the head type will be this with this thickness of horse, generally speaking, and stuff like that. So there are some different ways to tell in general. But you can see even on these enlargements I'm doing, which are not necessarily go with these plates. I just put them in to show enlargements so we can see it better on screen. If you want to go to the next slide, Mike. Here in group 4, probably one of the biggest groups, you've got 18 to 23 different number 18, 19, 21. So that's 6 different head types within group 4 with all its subcategories as well. So one of the larger groups. You go to the next slide. Group 4 is continuing, actually goes all the way to 23. So group 4 is definitely the largest of all the different groups. And you can see how simple some of these coins will get over time. And obviously it's all going to come down to artistic merit. And so remember, guys, like I just said, when the one in Nomos, all these coins we've seen, we didn't see a trident in between the legs. Now, is it if it's worth it to you to own one with the trident between the legs, and you want to pay a huge premium for that, go for it. But ultimately, you don't need to. You want to buy one that's got really pretty obverse, really pretty reverse. These are affordable in almost everybody's price range, depending on the quality of the coin. I consider it kind of like Alexander the Great drams. They're widely available in all different qualities and all different price ranges. And there are varieties of different types with different styles, depending on the period where they're minted and things like that. But there are so many of these Larissa drams out there. The fact that Kathy had 1,000 of them at her display, that was from the market. They weren't like museums. She was studying a hoard at the time that had come out in the 90s. And so the fact that there was 1,000 of them that she could actually study shows how many of these things survived and how many of them are out there in the market. So don't ever overpay in an auction for one of these unless it's spectacular, because there's no reason to. And then if we go to the next slide, we are at group 5 and 6, very short runs. So group 5 only has 1 head type, and group 6 only has 3. So smaller groupings as well. And then finally, if you go to the last slide, group 7 only has 1 as well. So right at the end, you can see. And again, she made enlargements of those three. There's that one on the far right that has her kind of shoulder coming up. That's a spectacular coin. I think that one actually brought like, you know, $60,000 or $70,000 in auction. So I mean, it's a one of a kind type of coin. When you look at all these coins and one like that just sticks out. It's like, again, it's like Alexander. When you get one that's so spectacular that it shines above the thousands of others, then it's going to bring really crazy money, and it's warranted. But like, I thought this was cool on the 7. You see the bull in between the legs there on the enlargement I put in there. That's very unusual. That's very unusual to have a bull's head in between the legs like that. And you can also get one that's signed by the artist, by one of these artists at the time. So for not as much as a Syracuse piece obviously would cost you, if you're into collecting signed coins, most of us can't afford signed coins, but you probably can do it in Larissa. So it's a cool thing to collect. I wouldn't necessarily collect it in huge runs because it'd get boring, but I think when you talk about ancient Greek coin typesets, you have to always include Larissa in there. It just makes sense. There are certain coins that if I was saying, if I had to put together what I would consider a typeset of Greek coins, I would do Larissa, Alexander, Philip. I would do Metapontum. I would do Corinth. I would do Athens. And some of the ones that you can get on a regular basis. Obviously, if I had the money, then I would go for Syracuse decagram, because that's a type, or a Syracuse decagram, which, obviously depending on the quality is going to be all over the place. So, I would get a coin from Carthage. And then you can do all of this in bronze. There are lots of bronze coins of all of these same cities. So if you can't afford the silver, do the bronze, because you'll find bronze coins, like you can get a bronze coin for Larissa for probably $40. So you don't have to spend huge money. And
it doesn't have to go exotic on you.
No, I mean, if you can't afford silver, go bronze. There are lots available in bronze, tons available in bronze,
and lots of really nice coins too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I can tell you, so I'll give Harlan Berk one little plug. Our staff spent the last like 2 weeks going through our entire inventory to do kind of a cleanup of the inventory. And we found that we had, probably about 3,000 coins that we have never put up on the web or done or put in a catalog, just cheaper coins. And so we're going to start adding in the cheaper coins. So like all the cheap bronze coins. So I don't care if it's $40 or $50. I have it now, the site program, that if we don't want to take a photo, we can just do a video only, and then it goes up on the site. And because then I don't have to waste money on having a photographer spend money to photograph it. And if it's only a $20 or $30 or $40 coin, it gives people access to cheaper coins. And so we'll start to add that over time, continue adding it to our fixed price list on our site, so that people who say we're too expensive, hopefully we'll have coins that are much cheaper for you to buy. And a lot of those will be bronze coins.
And a lot of them too. There's a lot of them. So this is a really good opportunity for people coming up. End of shameless plug.
So, so Mike, you came up with our pearl of wisdom. So why don't you?
Well, I mean, I think that this is just timeless wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Never stop learning. Even the world's foremost expert is capable of learning. And you were talking about him earlier in the show.
I was, and luckily, when you get older too, you forget. So everything
becomes more things that you can learn, doesn't it?
But no, it's true. I mean, my dad's absolutely correct. There's always things I've never seen before. Always. There's always a coin, a style, something that I haven't seen before. And then there's a ton that I have seen. Yes. So
the saying is, just when you think you've seen it all, you will see something new.
I mean, my dad loves to say, like, he has an internal rarity scale in his head. And I guess I do too. And that's any of us that have spent a lot of time around any kind of art form, no matter what it is. If you collect paintings, whatever you collect, video games, I don't care what it is. If you've been doing something long enough, you get a feel for it, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've never seen that before. It must be rare. And so you get this rarity scale, and he'll say to me all the time, like, I know this is rare. I've never seen it. And sure enough, 90% of the time he's correct. It's really rare. And then other times I'm like, nah, there's tons of them that have come up once we go and research it a little bit. Say, oh no, there was a ton that came up. Like, oh, okay. But in general, that is the general rule of thumb.
It's funny, and on a very personal note, so you spent your life growing up, in coin shops and around your dad and stuff like that. I grew up in bowling alleys, and it was one of those things where I eventually made my living doing it, but it was something where you think you've seen it all. And I coached kids, just 10 years ago. And one morning I was watching this little 6-year-old roll the ball down, and the thing stopped, just dead stopped in the middle of the lane. The ball had actually come to rest on its thumb hole in the middle. And it's like, I'd never seen it before. I don't think I'll ever see it again.
Wow.
It just tells you, it's like, look, if you think you've seen it all, there's always something else out there that you haven't seen. So
yeah, you stay in anything long enough, you always see something you haven't seen before.
It's gotta be something.
So it's but that's where experience comes in, and but it also makes it fun, right? I mean, I've been doing antiquities as long as I've done ancient coins, and I see antiquities I've seen all the time. I see antiquities I've never seen before. And then there's things that I see. The beauty is that once you have the experience, you can look at something, immediately what you should buy it for, what you can offer it for, and what you think it'll eventually sell for. And without having to research any of it. Yeah. And so that's where experience comes in. Where the rest of the experience comes in is like, oh, I haven't seen that. It must be rare. So now let me do a little bit of research and see if I can figure out if that is rare enough to warrant a certain price level.
Right.
So, which again, that's where experience comes in again.
Sure. And does anybody care?
So we're doing more shout outs these days. So I wanted to give a shout out to the Chicago Coin Club. They do in-person and WebEx meetings. They have about 20 in person and 15 online from all over the country. You can go to their website, chicagocoinclub.org, and request an invite from Secretary Scott McGowan. And then the meetings are the second Wednesday of each month, starting at 6:45. And also the Will County Coin Club website is willcountycoin.com, and they meet the first Thursday at 7 p.m. in Plainfield. So I want to give those two clubs out a shout out since they're local to me. And obviously there are a lot of people and clubs out there to learn in person and online. So
and I will offer this to you. If you have a coin meeting or something that you would like for us to kind of pub a little bit, drop a comment. Just put it in the comments where people will see it. And, every once in a while we will out and say hello and publicize your meeting for you.
Yep. So, that's number 61 in the bag, Mike.
That is it. So you're going to be in Baltimore, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I saw we had a table. So I am going to be in Baltimore. Aaron is going to be in Baltimore. Is your dad going to be there?
Yep.
Okay. So it's like the Berk entourage will be at Baltimore at the Whitman Spring Expo. Mm-hmm. And I really, really look forward to being there. We're going to be there Wednesday through Saturday.
Yeah, I'll be there. Thursday through Saturday. But unfortunately, I have to leave relatively early on Saturday because their last direct flight was at like 1:30 or 2. And so unfortunately, I don't like to take multiple flights when I'm carrying coins. So
yeah, probably not a good idea.
So unfortunately, if you want to catch me, I'll be there mostly. I'll get there Thursday, even though the show's starting Thursday. I'll probably get there around noon on Thursday, somewhere around that range. And then so Thursday or Friday will be the days to catch me.
Yeah, really. Definitely. And we'll be there. We'll be creating. I will be doing all kinds of stuff with my other gigs and stuff. And we're gonna be creating all kinds of content. Stop by and say hi. Who knows? We might have some swag that we're giving away. Speaking of which, I've awarded a couple more out of our comments from last show. So we'll see what happens. And I want to thank everybody who helps make this possible. It's like, I really like Craig's contribution. That was fantastic. That was exactly what I wanted. And all the people that give us feedback, all the people that comment, all the people that give us suggestions, but most of all of you who watch and who listen, because without you, this just isn't worth doing. So check us out on our webpage, hjbltd.com. That's Harlan J. Berk's website. You can find the Ancient Coin Podcast there. You can also find us on the YouTube channel, Aaron Berk. If you have nothing else, I think we will talk to you next time on episode 62 of the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk.
Thanks for listening to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. We'll return with another episode soon. Meantime, you can join our private group on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and search the Groups tab for Ancient Coin Podcast Discussion Group and ask to join. There you can become part of our community, where we share and discuss ancient coins, as well as the show, the ancient coin market, auctions, or just to give our own opinions on things or to learn together. Join Aaron and Mike again soon for the next episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk.